You want to bulk, you don't know how. Cue that intro. You've heard a million times, you gotta eat big to get big. But I think the problem portrayed in bodybuilding a lot of times is that this is a war against yourself, a battle against your belly, a maraud against your metabolism. When in fact, I'm here to tell you that if you treat this intelligently, if you don't make this a fight, but instead an alliance, you're going to have a much easier time scarfing down a lot more calories. But I think first, for credibility's sake, I should introduce myself. I'm Denali. I bulked from 150 to 215, which is a 65-pound jump, in about a year, 365 days. That is a lot of weight, not a lot of time to gain it, and I learned a lot from that journey. I also had a lot of struggles and problems, which I'm going to share with you today so you can avoid for yourself. And if you're somebody that struggles to eat food, if you're somebody who really has a hard time putting on mass, putting food down the gullet, this is the video for you. Alright, firstly, the most important thing you can do to eat more food is to eat less food. And what I mean by that is eat less food in each meal. Now in your head, you're going there and you're thinking, I gotta eat a lot of food at the end of this day. I gotta eat a lot of food at the end of this week. So it makes sense, intuitively, that every single time I'm given an opportunity to eat, I should eat as much as possible. But the problem with that logic is the more food you eat in any given instance, the less efficient your body gets at digesting that. Now the reasons for this are plentiful, and I'm not going to try to pretend to be a doctor here, but you have to think like, your stomach is a very low pH. It is filled with stomach acid, and the more food you consume, the more diluted that stomach acid becomes, thus less efficient. It's the exact same thing with your digestive enzymes. As you dilute those further and further, and on top of that, like, your stomach physically expands when you become really full. You cannot possibly imagine a system is as good at doing its job when it's bloated and expanded compared to it when it's in its regular state. And additionally, if we kind of ignore the biomechanics of your stomach itself, you also think hunger hormone, ghrelin. Your ghrelin response just gets completely shat on anytime you become completely full. And it stays low for so much longer than when you eat, not to complete satiation. So the way to get around that is to say just under satiation. Stay just under fullness every single time you eat. Okay, you guys are degenerates, right? You know what edging is. The point here is literally to edge your digestive system so you're never satisfied. And that should be the point of eating. You should never become full after eating a meal. You should never feel bloated. You should never even feel that satiated. You should always stay a little bit hungry because that will allow you to eat so much more food and be so much more efficient at digesting it. So that's what I actually mean by being in an alliance with your stomach, is you want to work together with it to make sure that both of you guys have the easiest amount of time scarfing down X number of calories. Because even if you do your absolute best to try to mitigate the loss of ghrelin per calorie consumed, you're still gonna not be hungry all the time, and that's okay. And that's where the next chapter of this video comes in, and that's food choices. First, I want to talk about flavor cycling. The absolute best way to sort of like not become full and bored and just hate eating is to switch between something savory and something sweet. One of my absolute favorites is just a bowl of frozen berries, yogurt and honey mixed with something savory. Like, the mix between going back and forth between the two of those just keeps you addicted to eating. It creates this like cycle of positive influence where one bite leads to the next, versus in a normal meal when you have the same flavor profile for all of it, each bite does not lead into the next one because you already have that flavor in your mouth. You're not yearning for the next, like a refresher or a savory, salty sort of contrast between the thing you just put in your mouth. So flavoring cycling is big. Now, I actually have a secret bulking method that's stupidly powerful. But I'm going to save it to the end of this video, not because I'm an asshole. Okay, partly because I'm an asshole, but mostly because I really want your watch time. And that's just because I really want to make YouTube videos, and just you watching this video would really help me out there. So thank you guys so much for just getting this far. Alright, and the next one is liquid calories. Now, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but liquid calories are like the nicest thing ever when bulking, especially if you eat them in conjunction with a meal, because it means that they help you chew the food that's in your mouth, get it through your digestive system, and they provide excess calories. So it's absolutely the best thing ever. Next one is foods that you should not be eating, and this is anything that causes you problems digesting, anything that makes you burp an hour later, anything you wake up the next morning, you're pooping it out, and you're like, what the fuck have I eaten yesterday? And this mostly means spice. Anything that's really spicy. I know you think you like spicy food, but the only part of you that actually likes spicy food is your taste buds. The rest of your digestive system hates it. It is just really hard on your stomach for no reason, and it's just going to limit the amount of food you can eat throughout a day. Now, another food you should not be eating too much of, again, counterintuitively, is protein. Protein is the hardest macronutrient to digest. Actually, about 30 to 35% of the calories simply in protein is used digesting it. Your body can also only digest about 10 grams an hour. So when you're trying to slam down these massive meals of protein, you're putting so much stress in your digestive system for no reason. It's not going to make you gain more muscle. All these studies show that. Especially when you're bulking, you actually need less protein than when you're cutting. Try to get the excess part of your calories through fats. Fats are the easiest to digest. Fats help your endocrine system. They make you produce more testosterone, especially healthy fats. And if you want to look for a healthy diet in general, you can look at polysaladino, an animal-based diet. I'm not going to go into that here because, truthfully, eating healthy does not... You don't need to eat healthy to gain weight. And this video is about gaining weight. But really do try to limit your protein to about 0.9 grams per pound of body weight. Anything in surplus of that is just completely limiting the amount of calories you can eat if you're a hard gainer. Alright, lastly, the final type of food that I'm going to tell you to mitigate eating when bulking is going to be caffeine and nicotine. Now, I don't consume nicotine at all. However, I love coffee. Coffee specifically, I'm just so addicted to. And I want to drink like gallons of it a day. However, it just completely destroys my appetite. And it upsets my stomach. And it is not productive for consuming as many calories as possible. Now, I'm still addicted to caffeine. But what I found is actually caffeine itself is a lot less appetite suppressant as a big black cup of coffee. So I've switched to having a very small amount of actual coffee and then supplementing caffeine on top of that through supplements. And that's worked the best for me, especially when I'm trying to eat a lot of food. However, when I'm cutting, I drink a bunch of coffee because it's 0 calories and it's appetite suppressant. Now, before we go, a couple of miscellaneous tips. Firstly, eat first thing in the morning, like immediately when you wake up. For me at least, and most people according to the literature, your appetite is kind of at the lowest when you first wake up. You've gone this 10-12 hour period without eating any food at all, and as a result, your body just gotten used to fasting. You have to break that fast as immediately as possible. Start with a really small meal. Again, you don't want to overeat, but as soon as you can get just a couple of calories in your system, it'll like kick your digestive system and subsequent ghrelin production into drive, and you just need to eat as immediately in the morning. You won't be hungry, but you just have to force yourself to eat just 400 calories, 500 calories, and get your digestive system working as soon as possible. I think that actually segues perfectly into sort of a tangent, but it was my biggest problem when I first tried to bulk is I wasn't hungry in the morning at all. I had really bad acid reflux, so I wouldn't start eating until like 2 p.m. And then at night, I'd finally be hungry, and it'd be like midnight, and I'd scarf down a 2,000 calorie meal, and I'd go to bed, but then because I ate so soon before going to bed, I would wake up like completely acid refluxed again and no appetite again. And then that next morning I'd wait even longer before I started eating. And I just kept shortening down the window by which I was eating more and more. So really don't do that. Additionally, try to not eat for like an hour or two before you go to bed. I know you're bulking, you have calories, it's going to happen. But try to imagine getting most of your calories in through a 12-hour window that doesn't include the last 2 hours before going to bed. And starts as early as possible, or even potentially better than 12 hours, but try to make sure at minimum you have a 12-hour window of eating. Now, briefly, I want to mention cardio, specifically steady-state cardio. Now, I always found personally for me that if I do a very low-intensity steady-state cardio, it always stimulates my appetite far more than the amount of calories I actually burn, so it always ends up being a net positive. So specifically, just a 10-minute walk after a meal will just like literally the physical motion of walking will help you digest that food, and the actual calories you burn in a 10-minute walk is negligible, especially compared to the amount of room it opens up in your stomach. So I think it's always a positive to try to get some steps in, as well as for your health, but for your bulk as well, it's really good for you. Now, another very important tip is eat your food as fast as possible. You will feel way less full if you scarf down a meal than if you eat it slowly and chew it a lot. I know a lot of people will say you should really chew every bite of your food 100 times or whatever, but at the end of the day, you will feel less full and you'll have a much easier time and spend less part of your day consuming food if you eat it faster. And I highly recommend it for trying to get as many calories as possible. Now, a next, far less consequential tip is eat your food on a bigger plate. Like, it sounds stupid, but genuinely, when you're looking at this big-ass plate and there's a little bit of food in the middle, it makes it seem like such a smaller portion size and so much easier to consume, especially when this is your 10th meal of the day and you're not looking that forward to eating it. When it takes up 10% of the plate opposed to 90% of it, it just seems like such a smaller task mentally. Well, that's the end of my main tips, but I have one last very important one. It's my secret tip I was going to tell you at the end of this video, and that is called Go Mad, or a gallon of milk a day, specifically whole milk. Now, this sounds like a bad idea, and if you're lactose intolerant, this is a very bad idea. But basically, the logic is it's $4 at the store. It is 2,400 grams of protein. No, it's not. It is 2,400 calories. It is 128 grams of protein. It's filled with healthy fats. It's a very diverse amino acid profile. It's complete protein. It's really good for you. It's really easy to digest. So the trick that I have with this is, again, circling back to the start of this video, don't chug it all in one instance. But if you break this into 2 glasses of milk, which is very easy just to wash down, chug, eat with a meal, and you do that 8 times throughout the day, that's 2,400 calories. And it really doesn't take up much stomach space. You don't spend a bunch of time digesting it. It actually digests so incredibly easily. So that's it. It's the cheapest, easiest, healthiest, most convenient way to get calories down. And with that, this video is concluded. I'm going to leave a printed version of everything I just talked about in the comments below. But this is my first real video ever. I posted a transformation video earlier that I'm really proud of, but I'm just starting on YouTube, and I don't know the in and outs. I'm not good at editing. I really don't know anything yet, but it's been my dream to make content. So if you want to stay with me, if you believe that I can get better, please consider subscribing, because I'd love to have you guys along for the journey. But I love you all, and have a wonderful rest of your day.